Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Skylanders Portalcasters, not sponsored by Captain Cluck's King Size Chicken. I am one of your hosts, Inklander. I do a lot of content creation on both YouTube and Twitch, primarily based around Nintendo and of course Skylanders. And with me is the other co-host, GFDitto.
Hello, I am GFDitto, and I also do a lot of content creation on both Twitch and YouTube, mainly focusing around Skylanders.
Awesome. Yeah, so our plan for this podcast, basically, is to talk about our love and appreciation for all things in the Skylands. Ditto and I are big fans of the franchise in general, from everything from character design to level design to the music, everything. It's a great franchise. It's, in my opinion, the perfect combination between platformer and dungeon crawler. So it's something that we both have passion for, and no one's really done a podcast thing for it before. So the franchise might be on hiatus, but this is a passion project, really, and something that we really wanted to dive into.
Absolutely.
For the first segment, we're going to be talking about how we got introduced into Skylanders, what really brought us into the franchise, and kind of why we're still here. So, Ditto, do you want to go ahead and start off with your experience into getting into Skylanders?
Sure. I was aware of Skylanders when it first launched. I had been at a GameStop and noticed a pre-order title for a new, what I thought was a Spyro game, and I learned about Skylanders when I asked the gentleman working the counter why a Spyro game on the 3DS was costing $70 at launch. And then I was informed that it's a game that's going to involve using toys in order to play it. And my initial thoughts was, wow, what a money pit. So I did not immediately go into the series. As it happens, I did not join into Skylanders until Trap Team was well through its phases, and Superchargers was already only a couple months out. I joined in towards the end of Trap Team, and it was actually purely by coincidence. So my son went to the county fair with my grandparents, and while they were there, they picked him up a 3-pack from Skylanders Swap Force, the 3-pack that came with the Mega Ram Spyro, Blizzard Chill, and Zulu. And he brought that home, and he just enjoyed playing with it. And I saw how much enjoyment he got out of it, so I started looking into what it would cost to get him a few more of the figures. Then there was a weekend where his cousins came out and stayed with us, and they spent the weekend rolling around and doing, the things that kids do. And when they left, the house was pretty well trashed. But my son, he took it upon himself to clean up the mess after all 3 kids, and so I took him to the GameStop to get a few figures as a reward. And then the collection just started growing from there. He enjoyed playing with them. I enjoyed playing with them with him and watching him play with them. And with Christmas coming, I went to the GameStops and I cleaned them out on used figures. I just bought up literally everything I could find. And then after about a month of doing that, I decided, you know what? Why not actually get a game to play with them in? And that's how I got Trap Team. And so Trap Team was where we started playing. I did not go back and play through the first 3 games until actually very, very recently. I had played through Swap Force one time after Imaginators came out, and then Spyro's Adventure and Giants I did not touch until this year, actually. I kind of went in reverse on those ones, and we're here now.
Yeah, awesome. And I mean, I think it's so great that your story involves having the figures as toys first. I think that's so cool, because usually I think a lot of people go into it seeing it from more the video game side, but initially it was just toys that you happen to have for your son, which is pretty cool.
It really is. What I did at first was, Christmas was coming, I bought them all up. I normally start my Christmas shopping in April. At that point, September, October, Christmas was coming. But I would also, as he did his chores for the week, or if he did exceptionally well in school for the week or whatnot, I would allow him to pick a figure that he could then have. It was utilized in that way too, so he was constantly getting new figures one by one. It was a thing that allowed us to bond together and enjoy something common.
Yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense. It definitely is a fairly accessible game, I think, for everyone to pick up and play, which I think is good. Definitely has some depth and strategy to it as well, especially depending on things from the battle modes to difficulty levels. But I think there's definitely something in it for everybody, and I think that's a really awesome thing.
Yes, I can 100% agree with that. There's absolutely something in the series for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, quite literally. You don't see many video game franchises very often that have over 300 different characters that you can choose from.
That's true.
There is a character for you, whatever it is.
Yes, there is. Now, how did you get into Skylanders, Inklander?
Right, yes. For me, it was that I was really not doing great in geometry. I was in high school at the time. I was a high school freshman, and I was not doing great in geometry, which was a little abnormal for me. So my dad was like, hey, you know what, I'll make a deal with you. If you can make an A in the class by me having a nice high A on my final geometry exam, he was like, I will get you whatever video game you want. So I was like, okay. And so I studied a lot for it, and I ended up making that A. And after that, I did a lot of research into what game would I want, because at that time, I was into some Nintendo games, and, you know, I was into the Lego games at the time, but there wasn't really anything coming out soon that I was really, really interested in. I don't know, after asking around on Miiverse, back when that was still a thing, and just kind of doing my own research online, I was like, oh, the Skylanders thing seems kind of similar to the Lego games. So I was like, yeah. So I went ahead and got that as my reward for actually managing to do well and make a A in a class. So that's what I ended up doing. I got Skylanders Giants. I didn't start with the first game. It was 2013, I guess. So it was kind of around wave 3, wave 4 time of Giants. But yeah, so that's kind of how I jumped into it. And at first, I had seen Skylanders before, and I kind of was put off by the figures because I was like, oh, that looks way too much like a little kid's game. I'm not really interested in that. But honestly, after seeing samples of the gameplay for it and actually having the game in my hands and being able to see how the portal works and how you were able to bring the Skylanders to life, it still feels magical now as an adult, especially Trap Team with the traps and being able to like rip a villain from the game into the real world. It's still very neat technology, honestly. Just that bringing me into the world and everything really caused me to dive into Skylanders.
You mentioned the whole ripping the villains from the game, and I remember the first time we played Trap Team, the first time I plugged it in, I was not the first one to play it per se. I loaded it up for my son, and I basically just gave it a quick test so I could instruct him on what the controls were. And he went through, took him about an hour and a half to get through the first level, Soda Springs. And then I remember just absolutely thinking it was wild. I must have been imagining things when he put in the water trap and captured the gulper. The audio coming through the portal, it completely threw me off. I did not expect that. And I am still amazed by the fact that they did that with the technology.
Oh yeah, it's crazy, honestly. Just, yeah, even now. When was Trap Team? 2014? So like 6 years later, that's still cool. It's still neat.
It really is.
It's one of the reasons why I really hope all the like Skylanders rumors about a new game are real. It'd be so wonderful to just see like what other cool things they could do with this technology now that there's been even more time and even more plans and ideas that Toys for Bob or Vicarious Visions could come up with for using the tech.
That's very true. I do wonder what would be next.
Yeah, very true. Although that's not the topic for for this episode, but we can always talk about it in the future. I guess one of the other topics that we would want to discuss is why are we still here? Because it has been about 3 years now since Lost Imaginite Minds released for Skylanders Imaginators, so it's been a while. So why are we still here? Why are we still playing this game?
Well, for me, the reason I'm still here is actually fairly simple and straightforward. These games have an insane amount of replayability value. Each time I play through it, for the most part, feels like a different experience. I'll get into the for the most part bit in a moment. But each playthrough, each just standard playthrough of the game with a different character or using the same character on a different path. It's just a completely different experience. The insane number of characters there are to play as definitely weighs in heavily on that. And then there's the fact that I have found an immense amount of joy in speedrunning these games as well. That's where the whole for the most part comes in, because for the most part when it comes to speedruns themselves, each experience is overall the same, just some are faster than others. It's a process, and once you've got it down, usually you're using the same characters, the same techniques, etc. But overall, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier about there being something in this series for everyone, there is just so much to see and to do in Skylands that I'm still here for it all, because I haven't seen and done everything there is to do yet, and I don't believe I'll ever reach the point of having experienced everything there is to experience in the Skylands.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally agree with that. Yeah, I think the reason why I'm still here with the franchise is definitely replay value. I definitely understand that, because no matter what, if you bring in, like, another person that's never played the game before, or maybe they have just a little bit, like, they're going to pick a different character, you know, maybe one that you don't tend to play as, and, you know, you're going to have a whole different experience playing with them compared to, you know, playing on your own, or with another person who might pick a completely different kind of character. And then also just the level design is spectacular to me. For me, one of the reasons why I think I stay is the world building that Skylanders has. Everything from the music to the scenery to just the characters themselves, everything feels like it's a living, breathing world in Skylanders. And it feels like it's such a wonderful kind of connected atmosphere and environment to where you feel like you're a part of this world. And a big reason for that, as we kind of mentioned earlier, is the portal. That is a huge part of that. Is the portal is what connects you literally to the game, with placing a character on there and making that decision in the real world. And actually, you yourself have a role in this as someone that is helping lead these forces of Skylanders against chaos. And that's just, I don't know, it's a compelling thing. Like, the world building is pretty good. It definitely kind of goes off the deep end maybe a little bit later, with them kind of not explaining how the senseis got to Earth or whatever, but for the most part, I feel like it's pretty solid. I like it, so I'm here for that.
I can agree with all of that, and I'd like to point out that I love the magic of the fact that you are a character in the game. They reference you a number of times. You are the portal master, and you are treated as such and respected as such. It's just that special kind of magic that makes you a part of it, and that's canon with the storyline.
Oh yeah, it definitely is a great part. And, you know, whenever they do end up breaking the fourth wall, it feels wonderful, because it's the fourth wall break, and it's always just hilarious when there's fourth wall breaks, but also,
and they do it in such a natural way and make it inclusive as well.
Yeah, that's the thing, is it's inclusive, and it works because it's already built into the lore. It's like, we know that Earth exists in the Skylands, so it's a great kind of feeling when chaos vibrates the controller. It's kind of silly, but at the same time, it's like, oh yeah, right, I am technically a part of this world. I'm technically here, so it's pretty cool.
That's the kind of magic I never expected to get out of video games in general, but this franchise really has just delivered on that. And then what you said earlier about other players selecting different characters, it's a whole different experience altogether when you're sitting down in couch co-op with somebody. I have used these games to bond with my children and my brother. I even sat down with my father at one point, and he played with my son. And there is a certain magic to this series that you don't find anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, you know that if a game makes you say wow, it's doing a good job.
Yes.
Yeah, I really think that Skylanders happens to do that. From just the gameplay and the ideas they have to the actual way that the game functions with the portal and with the figures, it's really cool. Well, Ditto, is there anything else you want to add about how you got into Skylanders and why you're still here?
No, Inklander, I think I've actually covered the vast majority of my thoughts on the topic.
All right, let's go ahead and transition into our next segment.
And that brings us to the Legendary Treasure Hunt, the segment where we go out and we try to find Skylanders at the best bargain we possibly can. The challenge this week was to find a bundle with as many Fire Skylanders as we could, with a price limit of $55. Each lot will be graded on a point system, 1 point for every Fire Skylander in the lot, and 1/2 point awarded for every $5 under that $55 limit we are. Inklander, would you like to present your findings first?
Yes, absolutely. So I have found a lot of 7 fire element figures. It's literally all fire element figures. It consists of Spitfire, 3 different Eruptors, Fire Kraken, Frino, Small Fry, and then also as a bonus, but we're not counting it, you get a fire element vehicle too, being a Hot Streak. And the price is $10.
That's actually a pretty amazing deal. I forgot to mention that whoever is hosting will have 1 point they can just award for a variety of reasons as a sort of extra. For $10, you found 7 Fire Skylanders in a vehicle. That's actually a really good deal. And the point total for this would be 7 for the Skylanders themselves, and 4.5 points for money saved, bringing yours to a total of 11.5 points.
Okay.
I will go ahead and award you an additional point, making it 12.5, based on the fact that you just found 8 Skylanders figures for $10. That's actually a really good deal.
Hooray. I definitely think it is. If you were, for some reason, really interested in the Fire Skylanders, that's your favorite element, this is a great lot to get, honestly. It gives you a couple from some of the different games. You got some Giants in there, you got some Swap Force, you got some Trap Team, and some Superchargers, so you got a good variety of stuff in there. I think it's great, especially if you happen to be a Fire Skylander fan.
Now, my lot is a little bit different. It took me a little more time to sift through it for the purpose of specifically targeting the Fire Skylanders. My lot features 9 Fire Skylanders. There's an Eruptor, Spitfire, Blast Zone, Dark Blast Zone, Kaboom, Wildfire, Fire Kraken, Hot Dog, and Smolder Dash.
Nice.
It's actually quite the large bundle. There's approximately 60 Skylanders in this bundle.
Oh my gosh.
5 magic items, 1 level item, Sheepwreck Island, 1 Sky Trophy, 1 vehicle, being the same vehicle that Inklander found, the Hot Streak, 4 portals, and 1 game. I'm not sure which game it is. The seller did not get back to me on that. And the total for my lot was $30. Point total wise, my lot comes out to 9 points for Fire Skylanders, and 2.5 points for money saved, bringing my total to 11.5 points.
Oh, wow.
Which would mean that this week, Inklander has won by
cool.
1 point.
That extra special point saving me there. But I mean, honestly, yours is a pretty great deal, too. If it wasn't for the specific challenge and it was just get a great deal on a Skylanders lot, this is good. You're getting 60 figures plus some trophies and magic items. Well, you said 1 trophy. You get a vehicle, you get some magic items, you get a copy of the game. This is really good, honestly.
And I just realized I forgot to mention there are 5 or 6 traps in there too.
Oh, so see, there you go. With this, if you wanted to buy a copy of all the games and then just buy this lot, there you go. You got something for everything. You got a vehicle, you got some traps, you got a sky racing trophy so you can do the clock rock based on everyone's favorite, The Future of Skylands. It's actually pretty good. This is a good deal. If you've never played Skylanders before, you have none of the figures, buy this.
Yes, definitely, absolutely a good deal. Why don't we also go ahead and inform our listeners as to where we are finding such good deals? I believe that Inklander's deal was found on eBay.
Yes. I actually just searched Skylanders lot and it came up. Because I did find a couple other lots that, interestingly, specifically only had Fire Skylanders. I also found a lot of 6 Fire Creation Crystals for $20, so hey, that's pretty good. And then the one I found was on page 4 or 5. What about you? Where did you find yours?
Typically, when I want to buy new Skylanders, the first place I look is OfferUp. I found my lot just scrolling through OfferUp. I did a search for Skylanders, and I found the deal.
Yeah, it's definitely a pretty good deal. You've told me about OfferUp before, so maybe I need to look into it, honestly. With a lot this big. It's pretty wild. honestly.
And that's going to wrap up our legendary treasure hunt for the week.
Yeah, this has definitely been fun. And each week we'll have a completely different challenge on what deal we're trying to find.
I'm looking forward to the next one.
Me too. All right, everyone, for our next segment, we are doing something called Red Yacht Destinations. And this is a segment where we're going to be going back and replaying a level from one of the games, from Spyro's Adventure all the way through Imaginators, and that could be on console or that could be on 3DS. And we're just going to give our thoughts on it and how exactly we feel that level compares to Skylanders as a whole, whether we feel it still holds up, and just how fun it is, honestly. So our level for this week is Leviathan Lagoon from the original Spyro's Adventure. So we wanted to take a look at a level from the first game for the first episode, just to see if memory serves well and if it's a really great level. It's one of the first ones from the first game, and it seemed like it was really, really worth revisiting. So, Ditto, what are some of your thoughts on Leviathan Lagoon?
Well, I played through this level fresh, and Leviathan Lagoon seems to be a series of tropical islands that are kind of linked together by wooden bridges. It actually seems to be a very, very fitting home for the eternal water source. That was one of the first things I noticed, was the way it was designed. It was all lush greenery and immense amounts of water. The setting for this level is very well placed.
Yeah, I would agree.
The score for this level also, it was very well done. It gives it kind of a little bit of a piratey vibe to it, which actually fits in well during the point where you actively sink a pirate ship to use it as a bridge.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was actually very well done. A lot of thought went into this level quite clearly. I do question how one of the statues for the shrine ended up on said pirate ship to begin with, but that was really the only thing design-wise that I had any kind of an issue with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, really, honestly, I think it's a really good level. I think, as you said, it's really fitting to the eternal water source, and you can very clearly tell that the people that did the Pirates of the Caribbean soundtrack also did the soundtrack to Skylanders because of the Leviathan Lagoon music just sounding like it could be just thrown into Pirates of the Caribbean and it would work just fine. And honestly, another thing that really feels unique and feels really fresh about this level, even now, is that Skylanders doesn't have many beach levels. When you look at all the games as a whole, sure, they'll have a lot of water-themed levels, even in Spyro's Adventure. We have Darkwater Cove, Oil Spill Island, but Leviathan Lagoon feels so unique because there's 3, I think, beach levels in the franchise as a whole. I don't think we get another one until Monstrous Isles and Superchargers. I could be wrong there, but I'm fairly certain that's the next one. And that's the 5th game, that's Superchargers. So it just feels like a very unique kind of setting, and I feel like it's really perfect for where you would find the eternal water source, as you said. And I really like the mechanics of it. The push-block puzzles get a little bit more complex in this level. They're starting to work on that a little bit more. And the chasing after the totem collectible things, that's pretty cool.
The habaneros?
Yes, that's fun. I think they introduced that in the level beforehand, but I don't remember. It has been a while. But, it's still fun to see them introducing that mechanic in a nice, fun way, and having to fight off the pirates and everything, and the pirate ship is really cool. Overall, I am a big fan of this level. I think everything from level design to the way it looks to how the music sounds, it comes together so well that... Honestly, from memory, I remembered this being one of the strongest Spyro's Adventure levels, and I feel like it still really holds up quite well.
I would like to point out that as a speedrunner, I also found that this level is like a breath of fresh air. The level itself is rather quick and straightforward if you're just running. There are a couple little quirks to it that make it really notable as well. For example, the bridges that connect the islands are literally just wide enough for a single squid-faced brute. So if there is one of those on the bridge, you actually have to lose a little bit of time because you have to stop and get rid of it, as opposed to just slipping past them and running. The only real downside to this level in regards to speedrunning is the boss fight itself. Seeing as how the boss fight here was the introduction of Chaos' Skylanders and his iconic Doom Sharks. But the problem with the Doom Sharks is if you're anywhere near them, they slow down time. Which, as a speedrunner, you could see where that would be a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. Although one thing that I could be wrong on this because I don't speedrun Skylanders, but one thing that could actually potentially help with the speedrunning in this level is the fact that it has the old mechanic from Spyro's Adventure and Giants, where if you have a water Skylander, you can walk on water and actually go between the islands. I don't know how much that actually would help with the speedrunning. That might actually... I don't know, I feel like it probably could, but I don't know too much on that. But, you know, also with the walking on water side of things, if you go too far out into the ocean and stray kind of too far from the islands, you'll actually have the Leviathan eat you. And that's where you'll get the legendary treasure, which is pretty cool. That's also another thing that makes this level feel very fresh, is, oh yeah, that water mechanic of walking on water that they kind of forgot was a thing in the later games. It's very prevalent in this level if you wanted to do it, and you actually get eaten by a Leviathan due to it, but still, it's cool and it's there. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Ditto? Does the walking on water thing help with the level any?
I'm honestly not sure how it would impact the speedrun, as I haven't routed a path through the water itself yet. But the fact that you can venture too far out and be eaten by the Leviathan, that was a very nice touch. And it's a kind of ingenuity that you really don't see in more modern games.
Yeah, I know. Like, Breath of the Wild, I think you just kind of hit a wall once you go too far out in the ocean. Yeah, Breath of the Wild, pretty much go too far out into the ocean, I think you hit a wall. But it would have been much cooler if Link just got eaten by a shark or something.
Even in games like Skyrim, you venture too far and there's just an invisible wall.
Right. I think Skylanders, it's pretty clever that why don't more games have that? Where, like, instead of having an invisible wall to the world, why not just get eaten by a Leviathan? I think that makes a lot of sense. Honestly, it does. It's a very clever way to hide it.
I'd like to mention the fact that the Leviathan also, it reminded me a lot of the creature from Rainfish Riviera.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I haven't looked at the models, but I feel like they're either exactly the same or just slightly modified. Because it looks so similar.
They do look very, very similar, and I liked that essentially in Trap Team they brought back the Leviathan by bringing in a creature that was very similar. I really enjoyed that touch.
Yeah.
And seeing as how Trap Team was my first game, that the reminder of that fish brought a little bit of the nostalgia flavor to me.
Yeah. Although now that I think of it, it can't be the same model because Spyro's Adventure did not run on alchemy like the last 4 games do, but it's very clearly inspired by the Leviathan from Spyro's Adventure. Just the difference is one has the legendary treasure that you're trying to find, and the other has the information squid, also known as Chaos. Overall, yeah, I think Leviathan Lagoon's a great level, and it's also the first instance of the Chaos fight, right? I think that's the first time that happens. And honestly, it's pretty cool, it's pretty iconic, and of all the attacks that we see Chaos use in Spyro's Adventure, from the fire attacks and the life attacks that he uses in later levels, Doom Sharks were the most memorable, and they're a part of his moveset in Trap Team and in Imaginators. So honestly, it must have been a very memorable level for the developers as well, because it's great. Overall, the whole level design's wonderful, and then also that Chaos fight, it's just very, very memorable, especially with the Doom Sharks, and those just continuing to come back. It's pretty cool.
It really is.
That's been a pretty fun kind of reflection down memory road, but now I think it's time for some Skylanders to duke it out. What do you think, Ditto?
I couldn't agree more.
Let's get to it.
now we step into the Archaean arena, where we will pit Skylanders against each other in theoretical combat.
Yes, I'm quite looking forward to this because Activision, you did away with PvP. I don't know why, but in this podcast, we're bringing it back.
Absolutely.
Even if it has to be hypothetical. So...
And I dare say it's about time that this happened.
Yes, I'm pretty excited for this. So, Ditto, who is the Skylander you have that's going to be duking it out against my Skylander?
I have brought with me today a personal favorite. I am bringing Splat into the arena.
Ooh, okay. Splat. Supercharger. Okay. I am bringing in a character that I actually haven't played with in a little while until earlier today, actually. The character I've decided to bring is from Skylanders Swap Force. I have brought Scratch.
Ooh, another personal favorite of mine.
Well, there you go. I mean, no matter what, I guess one of Ditto's favorites is going to win, then. Scratch I haven't played with too much. Scratch isn't exactly one of my personal favorites, but Splat definitely is, though, so... Let's go ahead and get to it. So tell me a little bit about the stats behind Splat and a little bit about how the character is going to be playing.
Splat is a magic element Skylander who I would classify under a mixed style of combat. She has 720 hit points, critical hit stat of 56, armor at 29, and speed of 38. As I said, she tends to be a mixed range character. She has attacks that are up close and personal, and she has attacks that can handle enemies at a distance. I tend to favor a style of more melee combat with her, but at the same time, there's something to be said about summoning an ink golem.
That makes sense. Honestly, Splat is a pretty fun character. It's amazing that Splat started out as a dark element character and then turned into literally the most colorful Skylander. So, Splat's definitely a lot of fun, honestly.
Yes, loads of fun,
great character
both
design.
for racing and for adventuring.
Yeah.
Let's hear a little bit about Scratch, though.
Right, so Scratch is a core air element character who is a little bit more on the melee side as opposed to mixed. These are all stats that we're listing at level 20, by the way. Scratch's health is at 780, critical hit is at 54, armor is at 29, and speed is at 45. Some of her different attacks include the Cat Scratch, which is a up-close claw swipe kind of attack, Playful Pounce, which is kind of shooting out a laser, being able to aim that laser, and also pouncing towards where the laser is hitting. And then we have Whirlwing, which is just summoning a tornado right around Scratch. So a lot of these attacks are pretty much right up close and personal. You do have that Playful Pounce where you are able to kind of aim that, get in close, and then go for the Cat Scratch. But pretty much a melee character at the core. The Whirlwing attack, characters have to be right up close for that, and same thing with the Cat Scratch.
For a matchup like this, I would definitely try to play Splat as a more distanced character. As much fun as it is to swing that paintbrush around and dish out the damage, it would definitely be more ideal for me to keep Scratch at a distance because those claw attacks are devastating, and they're really, really quick, too. The one thing I could say I could use against Scratch would be that Playful Pounce, if you have to aim that laser, then it can be a fairly slow process. There are ways to do it quickly, but any lag in time, I would definitely have to be using those ranged attacks, flinging balls of paint, and maybe even summoning the Ink Golem to keep Scratch as far away as is possible.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense, because with me, playing Scratch in an arena kind of setting, I would have to try to get as close as possible to Splat, because that attack 2 is definitely cool. It does deal a decent amount of damage, but again, you have to aim that. It's not going to be a lock-on like some Skylanders have. And the thing is once I can get up close, the Cat Scratch is going to deal a decent amount of damage, but especially my Whirlwing, being able to keep you in that kind of tornado repeatedly is going to deal a lot of damage really fast, and that would be exactly what I would want to try to do. It's not even necessarily the Cat Scratch, it's actually using that tertiary attack to be able to kind of get in close, get you into the tornado, and just keep dealing that damage constantly.
I wouldn't even anticipate that kind of playstyle out of Scratch. My experience with Scratch in the past has been use that playful pounce, get in close, and rip them to shreds with your claws. I wouldn't anticipate the whirlwing. That definitely would catch me a little bit off guard, and I would have to change up how I play accordingly. With these two Skylanders matched, it's only a question of how quickly can Scratch close the gap between the two. Yes, I would try to keep Scratch at as much of a distance as I can, but as Inklander has pointed out, the ranged attacks do require aiming. They are not homing attacks, and it would be just a question of how quickly Scratch could close that gap. I don't think it would be possible to keep Scratch at an absolute distance the entire time, not all the way through to victory. And when it comes down to Whirlwing versus the Artisan Arts, Whirlwing just outstrips Splat in the way of damage. A matchup like this, I feel, would come down to how long can I keep you at a distance? How quickly can you close that gap? Because once it's melee combat, Scratch is the superior combatant.
Yeah, which is interesting, because I figured Splat would probably be the one that takes it, but if you can keep me at bay, there's a good chance you might be able to knock down a little bit of Scratch's health here and there without attack to help keep me at a distance. But if I am able to get in close, that Whirlwing is going to be able to deal a lot of damage pretty quickly. I think, honestly, most likely here, Scratch would probably be able to take it. If I'm able to get in close, it's probably going to be the end for Splat. But if you're able to hold me at bay enough and kind of chip away at my health, you might be able to, but I feel like the odds are definitely probably a little bit more in favor of Scratch this time around.
The odds are definitely in favor of Scratch this time around. Well, I could potentially keep you at bay. This is all theoretical combat, so we would end up doing it probably best out of 3 style, and we're going to adapt to each other's play styles as we go, which means the odds of keeping you at bay, well, they may be higher to begin with in that initial run. There isn't exactly a lot of variety in what Splat can do ranged. All it would take is a little bit of planning on your part and adjusting to how the attacks fly, and by the 3rd time, you would be able to get in close a lot quicker.
Yeah, that's true.
In this case, I honestly believe we could declare Scratch the winner.
Well then, cool. Scratch is the first winner of Archaean Arena.
Yes, Scratch is the first winner of Archaean Arena.
Awesome. Well, this has definitely been a fun kind of hypothetical matchup. It's cool to see these two fairly popular female Skylanders go up against each other here. Both from Vicarious Visions games, too.
That's true.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our inaugural episode of Skylanders Portalcasters. You can find us on Twitter at SL Portalcasters, and if there's anything that you want to ask us or show us, please tag us with the hashtag Portalcasters, and we'll be sure to take a look at it. You can find links to our individual Twitch and YouTube channels in the description below, and also let us know, what is your favorite Skylander? Which Skylander would you like to see in a lot? And next time on Skylanders Portalcasters, we're going to be talking about our favorite memories in Skylanders. Thanks again for watching. I'm Inklander.
And I'm GFDitto.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Now, the audio issues are going to be
Yes.
fun here.
What's that? You cut out.